So I gotta start off by saying Across the Spider-Verse is probably the best Spider-Man movie ever. If you haven't seen it, you might want to hold off on watching this video until you've seen it because this will contain some spoilers for the film. Okay, so how is Miles Morales going to enter the MCU? I talked about this a bit in my The Importance of Black Spider-Man video, but Across the Spider-Verse has brought so much clarity to how it could possibly play out. So a bit of history on Miles. In the comics, Miles isn't from the main Marvel Universe. He's from Earth 1610, just like in the movies, or as it's affectionately known by comic book fans, the Ultimate Universe. In the Ultimate Universe, Peter Parker dies fairly early on in his Spider-Man career, and Miles feels the responsibility of carrying on the Spider-Man name in that universe. Eventually, main universe Spider-Man accidentally ends up in the Ultimate Universe and meets Miles Morales, and that was essentially the beginning of a 6-year comic book arc about the collapse of the multiverse that ended in a series called Secret Wars. Now, if you're a fan of the MCU, you've probably heard that name before. That's because Secret Wars is what the MCU is building up to right now. Do you remember the post-credits scene from the Multiverse of Madness where Doctor Strange was met by a woman named Clea? That scene basically sums up Secret Wars. Essentially, in the comics, these things called incursions start happening, which are entire universes colliding with one another across the multiverse. In Avengers and New Avengers, the Illuminati tried to stop these incursions and were unsuccessful. Eventually, only 2 universes remained, the Ultimate Universe and the main Marvel Universe. When these 2 universes collided, it was the official end to the multiverse as we knew it. But of course, the multiverse was rebuilt, and when it was, through some absolute comic book madness, Miles and his family and friends are relocated to the main Marvel Universe because the Ultimate Universe line of comics was officially over. From then on, every Miles Morales storyline happened within Earth 616, the main Marvel Universe. Across the Spider-Verse has set things up perfectly for this to happen to the animated Miles as well. So remember, the rules of the film are: if a canon event doesn't happen in a universe, that universe falls apart and is destroyed. This effect also is not too different from what happened to Doctor Strange and What If. The film also reiterates that you can't have your cake and eat it too. So only one of 2 things can happen in the third movie. Either Miles' dad dies and his universe remains intact, or Miles saves his father and loses his universe in the process. I think that the latter happens. Miles does save his dad, but in turn there is no way to save his universe, and somehow he ends up in either the Sonyverse or the MCU as a result of it. It all leads back to Loki. Ever since the finale of Loki, people have been waiting for all hell to break loose across the multiverse, but instead it's been one large multiversal threat after another, leaving a lot of people confused. But I don't think people really understood what Kang meant. The multiverse is extremely vast and strong. It's going to take more than just he who remains being stabbed to fully collapse. Instead, what Immortus was saying is that if he was killed, there will be no one to prevent these major multiversal threats. No one to stop Doctor Strange from tampering with the memories of everyone across the multiverse. No one to stop Wanda from daywalking in search of her kids. No one to stop Miles from saving his dad and destroying his own universe. All of these events stack onto one another and initiate incursions. There are millions of universes, and it's not until they've all collided with one another that the multiverse will officially collapse. I believe the next time we see Doctor Strange, it'll be him and Clea attempting to stop these incursions. They may even show up at the end of Beyond the Spider-Verse and offer to take Miles with them. I mean, Miguel O'Hara literally name-dropped MCU Stephen Strange and Across the Spider-Verse. I'm not 100% sure how things will play out, we'll just have to wait and see, but I do believe that Miles from the Spider-Verse films will enter the MCU after the collapse of either the multiverse or just the collapse of his own universe. And this will be perfect because he would already have 3 movies of character development, therefore we wouldn't have to sit through yet another Spider-Man origin story, while also keeping the story of Miles true to the comics. But yeah, that's just my theory on how Miles went into the MCU. But what are your theories? I'd love to hear them down in the comments. And did you like Across the Spider-Verse?